So next up is going to be titles. This is one of those things where you can ask ChatGPT for titles for your videos, but I have found a couple of problems with this, and this is true for titling anything. One, ChatGPT is really good at creating titles that sound good to the human ear. They sound good to our brains. Maybe they rhyme, maybe they have alliteration in them, things like that. And so what happens is we go, oh, that sounds really good. And early on with ChatGPT, I found myself doing that, not only with YouTube titles, but workshop titles and things like that. And the next day I would go, well, that doesn't even make sense. Like that's catchy. Like I had this thing that I was going to add to my offer. It was called Channel Booster Checkpoints. And I was like, oh, I love the alliteration, channel and checkpoint. It sounds so good. And then a couple days later, I was like, well, that's not even what it is. Why did I choose that? So I usually advise against just getting title ideas from ChatGPT in that way. Like just, hey, give me some ideas. But one thing that I think is really effective with any Gemini or whatever tool you're using that ChatGPT is good at is improving your titles or creating titles if you give it enough information. So I think there's two ways you can do this. Number one is give it the title you're thinking about and then ask it to add more emotional stakes to it. So for example, if I was making a video called How to Use YouTube End Screens, then I might ask ChatGPT, hey, how do I add more emotional stakes to this? Then it might come back. I mean, I guess we could do it in real time, but this is actually a video that I just brainstormed the other day. So I already know it came back and it was like how to use YouTube end screens. And then it added parentheses like, don't get this feature wrong, or, how not to use YouTube end screens, I think was one of the other suggestions. But when we can add a little bit more emotion to our titles, then people are more likely to click on them. And then the second thing that AI is great for is if you describe the way you want the viewer to see or feel when they see your title, AI is really good at suggesting titles for that. Because, I'm a big human psychology geek, but AI understands humans, ironically enough, really well, right? That's one thing that by reading the internet, AI can do really well. And so you can ask it to, for example, say, I want to make a video where I'm showing people how to use YouTube end screens. And there's all these different settings that you have to look at when you are setting up an end screen. And I don't want people to feel confused. I don't want people to feel panicked. And I want them, after watching the video, to feel this sense of relief. So all I've done is I've said, how do I want them to feel? And then ChatGPT could give you a title based on that. So that can work really well. So Simone, do you want me to just keep going through these steps? Because I don't want to pause at it every time, but I want to make sure that I clarify anything if I can.
Yeah, absolutely loving this. That alone I just found super interesting then, of how you get emotion into the title to stop the scroll. Basically, the way you worded that then was amazing. So yeah, I'm just sitting here like loving all of this. So feel free to just keep going. You're amazing. This is great.
Okay, cool. Because I know we wanted to get through all the steps, and I know, we have a limited amount of time. So happy to do that. But ChatGPT, if I can share anything, or Gemini, if you are trying to reach and connect with people, as bad as this sounds, right? If we're worried about the AI overlords taking over the earth someday, they really are good at understanding people. So that's something that it does really well. All right, next step. So a lot of times when you're making a YouTube video, what the biggest YouTubers on the planet say is they come up with their title and their thumbnail before they even create or outline the video, because that is the whole point of getting somebody to click. Is they're excited about the title and the thumbnail. It doesn't matter how good the video is if they don't click. I see it sometimes where I used to have a bunch of restaurant clients, and I had a chef that I worked with with their marketing, and he would say, before I decide what is going to go in the dish, I decide how the dish is going to look on the plate. And it was a restaurant that had pictures on their website, and some of the restaurants, they had them on the pictures on the menu. So he's like, it has to look good first, then I decide how to make it taste good. And so I look at YouTube kind of in that same way. And so when it comes to thumbnails, AI can give you ideas decently, but one thing that has gotten so much better with AI is creating images that you can use in your thumbnails. Now, there are tools out there where you can just, give it your transcript, or even somewhere to look at your video and it'll suggest a thumbnail and even create it for you. But thumbnails are so important that I'm very much keeping the human element of it in there. But I want to show you 3 things that work amazingly with thumbnails. So it used to be, let's say you had if you've been on YouTube, most of the thumbnails is somebody's goofy face like mine, making a ridiculous expression, 3 to 4 words, right? And maybe an icon of some sort. But other people who have budgets to go do thumbnails, like they used to go out and do photo shoots just to make a thumbnail for one single thumbnail, or just take a picture just to use on one thumbnail. And now with AI, we can take so many different shortcuts there. So, for example, this is something that my wife and I recently put together a workshop on this, but we were, teaching entrepreneurs like how do you use AI to make better and faster thumbnails. So this is just a picture that I took, against a plain wall in my house. And then I went into Google Gemini and I said, please provide this image so it looks like it was taken by a professional branding photographer by improving the lighting. No ID drift, which means do not change the person's face, which AI loves to do, as you know. Do not change the face or pose of the man, only the lighting. And a few seconds later, it's able to come through and create this amazing photo that looks like it was taken professionally. And so if you compare here, I'll put a little bit on the screen at the same time. It didn't lose who I was. It didn't take out all of my wrinkles or, it didn't give me perfect skin or, anything like that. And so that's one thing that it can do that's really powerful.
If you want to watch the entire episode, click here. And if you want to watch more episodes like this, click here.